please subscribe and share for more story. Mara Lennox had never heard a disaster sound like that before. At 3:11 a.m. inside her fifth-floor apartment in Lower Manhattan, it felt as if the entire world inhaled sharply, stealing every molecule of air from her lungs before slamming everything back with the force of a subway train. The floor lurched violently, throwing her from her bed. "God, what's happening?" she gasped as plaster rained from the ceiling. The building groaned, metal shrieked, and somewhere below, an entire section of the stairwell collapsed. Smoke and dust rolled through her room like a living thing. Mara, 70 years old with aching joints and a heart that had endured too much, choked as she crawled toward the door. For one awful moment, she thought, maybe this is how my story ends. But then outside, loudspeakers blared. "Evacuate immediately. Move now." Her survival instinct slammed awake. She staggered into the hallway, joining terrified neighbors in pajamas, clutching pets and screaming each other's names. She didn't grab her jewelry, or even the little envelope of emergency cash in her drawer. She only grabbed the framed picture of her son, taken years ago, back when things were still warm between them. Then she ran. The stairwell was chaos. Smoke curled from broken pipes, and icy water from the sprinklers soaked every step. "Keep moving," a firefighter shouted as he guided people down. Structures unstable. Mara held the railing with trembling hands, her nightgown sticking to her legs. By the time she stumbled onto the freezing sidewalk, she could barely breathe. Police blocked the street as emergency crews swarmed around the collapsing building. Red and blue lights flashed across the fractured brickwork. A structural engineer shook his head. "This place is done," he told an officer. "Full evacuation. No re-entry." Mara hugged her thin coat around herself, staring at the building she had lived in for 30 years, her memories now sealed behind yellow tape. A Red Cross worker draped a blanket over her shoulders, but the cold in her chest only deepened. She was alone in the middle of Manhattan, with nowhere to go. She held her cracked phone with numb fingers and dialed the one person who should have cared about her safety, her son, Caleb. It rang. And rang. Finally, a groggy voice answered. "Mom? Do you know what time it is?" She swallowed hard. "Caleb, please. My building collapsed. I need somewhere to stay. Just for a few nights." Silence followed. After several long seconds, she heard muffled voices, her son's wife, Tessa, whispering sharply. Then Caleb came back, his tone clipped. "Mom, this isn't a good time." Mara blinked. "Not a good time?" "Caleb, I don't have a home. The kids have school. Tess is stressed. We're juggling a lot," he said. "You know how it gets." Mara felt a sting. "I'm not asking for much. Just your couch, 2 or 3 nights." More whispers. Then Caleb sighed heavily. "Mom, we can't. We need boundaries. We can't keep getting pulled into your emergencies." Mara's jaw trembled. "This is not an emergency I caused." But the line went cold. Caleb hung up. She stared at her reflection in the dark screen, dusty, exhausted, 70 years old, and suddenly homeless. But desperation creates hope where none exists. "If he sees me," she thought, "he'll understand." She walked 5 blocks to her aging Toyota, praying it would still start. Miraculously, it did. She drove through the quiet city toward their home in Queens. As dawn crept over the skyline, she parked outside Caleb's clean suburban house. She rang the bell, shaking. It wasn't Caleb who answered, it was Tessa. Tessa's expression hardened the moment she saw Mara. She didn't open the door fully. She kept her body angled like a shield. "Mara, we talked about this," she said. "It's not appropriate for you to just show up." "Tess, please," Mara whispered. I've been outside all night. I just need somewhere warm." "We're already stretched thin," Tessa said coolly. "Your energy is difficult. The kids get unsettled." Mara blinked. "I'll stay out of the way. I'll cook, I'll clean, anything." Caleb appeared behind his wife, rubbing his eyes. "Mom," he said, exhausted, annoyed. "You can't just appear like this. It's manipulative." Mara stepped back, shock ripping through her chest. Manipulative? We've talked to our therapist about this, Tessa added. You bring drama wherever you go. And honestly, she hesitated, then finished coldly. You drain us. You don't give anything back. The word that followed landed like a slap. You're a burden, Mara. Mara flinched as if struck. She opened her mouth, but no sound came. Caleb reached out only to push the door closer. We need to protect our peace, he said quietly. The door clicked shut. The deadbolt slid into place, firm, final. And Mara realized she had been erased. The next 4 nights were a descent into a world she never imagined. Mara slept in the back seat of her Toyota, parked near 24-hour stores and gas stations. Every few hours, security would tap on her window, forcing her to move. February wind howled through Manhattan streets, turning her car into an icy tomb. Frost crawled along the glass. Her knees stiffened painfully from arthritis. Her stomach twisted with hunger, surviving on stale snacks and lukewarm coffee from convenience stores. The physical discomfort was terrible, but the emotional pain was worse. She replayed Caleb's voice again and again. You're a burden. Each time the words echoed, her chest tightened. She thought of where everything had begun, her years as a live-in caretaker for a wealthy Manhattan family, the Winfields. She had raised their son, Julian, from infancy. You were like sunshine, she used to tell him. But loving another child had cost her relationship with her own. Caleb never forgave her for dedicating time to Julian instead of him. And now, decades later, that resentment had matured into cruelty. On the 5th morning, with her phone battery at 2%, she scrolled social media. There it was, Caleb's new post. Grateful for a peaceful home. Sometimes protecting your family means cutting off toxic cycles. People praised him. So brave. Setting boundaries. Mara's heart cracked silently in the cold. The public humiliation was the final blow. Mara closed her eyes, feeling something inside her collapse. But then, clarity. She was done begging for love. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through old contacts. Friends had offered nothing but empty prayers. But then she saw a number she hadn't dialed in 15 years. Julian Winfield. He was a child when she left the household. Now he was a world-renowned cardiothoracic surgeon in Manhattan. She had watched him grow from afar through magazine articles, quietly proud. She whispered to herself, I shouldn't call, it's been too long. But cold desperation outvoted dignity. She pressed call. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Then, this is Dr. Winfield. His voice was deeper now, calmer, confident. Mara whispered. Julian, it's Mara. Mara Lennox. Silence. A beat. Then, Mara? Mara? Oh my God. Where have you been? I tried to find you for years. Her breath broke. I'm in trouble, Julian. I didn't know who else to call. His tone shifted instantly, sharp, protective. Tell me where you are. Right now. A gas station on 8th and Delancey, she said weakly. My building collapsed. I've been in my car. Julian's voice hardened with urgency. Stay there. I'm coming. 18 minutes later, headlights swept into the gas station. A sleek black Audi stopped in front of her car, followed by another vehicle carrying security staff. The driver's door flew open. A tall man in a navy coat stepped out, his dark hair streaked with silver. Mara, he called. She blinked. Julian. He didn't hesitate. He rushed to her car and pulled open the door. The moment he saw her, frail, trembling, cheeks sunken from cold, his face tightened with anguish. No, 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 he muttered, scooping her into his arms. How long have you been like this? 5 days, she whispered. Caleb wouldn't let me stay. Julian's jaw flexed. We'll deal with that later. Right now, you're coming with me. He wrapped his designer coat around her shoulders. Sir? A security agent asked. Retrieve everything from her car, Julian ordered. Then tow it to the estate garage. Mara shook her head. Julian, I don't want to be a burden. He stopped walking and looked directly into her eyes. You raised me, he said softly. You taught me kindness. You taught me courage. You are not a burden. Your family. Mara's breath hitched, and she let herself lean into him for the first time in years. Inside the heated Audi, Mara melted into the warm leather seat. Julian turned on the seat warmers, watching her carefully. "Drink," he said, handing her a bottle of water. She took a sip, throat burning from dehydration. "Tell me everything," Julian said quietly. And she did. She told him about the explosion, her evacuation, her call to Caleb, the locked door, the word burden. With each detail, Julian's grip on the steering wheel tightened. The muscles in his jaw twitched. "He let you freeze in a car?" he said in disbelief. "He said I disrupted his peace," Mara murmured. Julian exhaled slowly. "Peace? I'll show him peace." "Julian, please," she said weakly. "I don't want to fight." "We're not fighting," he said. "We're clarifying." She frowned. "Clarifying what?" "Your worth," he said simply. As Manhattan's skyline blurred past the windows, Julian made a turn toward Queens. "Julian," Mara whispered, nervous. "Where are we going?" "To the people who shut the door in your face," he said. "Mara, they need to understand who they discarded." She shook her head. "Julian, you won't say a word," he assured her gently. "You'll just stand beside me. That's all." The convoy of luxury cars stirred the quiet suburban street awake. Curtains shifted. Porch lights flicked on. Dogs barked. Julian stepped out first, his posture straight, his presence commanding. He opened the passenger door for Mara and helped her out softly. "Stay close," he whispered. They walked up Caleb's driveway. Julian pressed the doorbell once. Caleb answered in sweatpants, irritation already on his face, until he saw Julian. Confusion clouded his expression. "Can I help you?" "You can start by opening your door fully," Julian said. His tone was polite, icy. Caleb obeyed instinctively. Then he noticed Mara standing behind Julian, wrapped in his coat. Caleb's irritation returned. "Mom, why are you here again?" Julian cut in sharply. "You locked your 70-year-old mother outside in freezing temperatures." Caleb bristled. "Okay, who are you to get involved?" "I'm the man she raised," Julian said. "The one who didn't abandon her." Tessa appeared behind Caleb, crossing her arms. "Mara brings chaos," she said. "We have boundaries." Julian gave a cold laugh. "Boundaries? You call cruelty a boundary?" Tessa's eyes narrowed. "We're protecting our peace." "Peace," Julian repeated. "You left her to freeze." Julian stepped forward, voice lowering into something far more dangerous. "Do you know she paid your rent for 6 months last year?" Caleb's face flushed. "That's not. They were gifts. They were sacrifices," Julian snapped. He shifted toward Tessa. "And you posted online about toxic parents? You lied publicly to cover your own cruelty." Tessa opened her mouth, but no words came. "She loved you," Julian continued. "She worked double shifts when she was younger so you could attend private school. She skipped meals so you could eat. And now? You repay that by locking her out in the cold." Caleb swallowed. "It's complicated." "No," Julian said firmly. "It's simple. She needed you. You shut the door." Mara watched her son shrink under Julian's gaze. She had never seen Caleb look ashamed, not once in his adult life. Julian turned to her gently. "Do you want to say anything?" Mara inhaled. Her voice shook but held steady. "Caleb, I loved you. I did the best I could. But I won't beg to exist in your life." Tessa scoffed. "So now what? You're taking her?" Julian smiled faintly. "Yes. Permanently." Caleb stepped back. He no longer protested. Julian walked Mara back to the car as neighbors peeked through blinds, whispering. Once the door closed behind her, Mara exhaled shakily. "You shouldn't have said all that," she murmured. "They'll hate me more." "Mara," Julian said softly, "you don't need people who love you only when it's convenient." She looked out the window as the house disappeared behind them. I thought family meant safety." "Family," Julian said as he drove, "means showing up when the world falls apart. That's what you did for me." The car glided through Manhattan, heading toward the Upper West Side. He lived in a penthouse overlooking the Hudson River, far beyond anything Mara had ever imagined for herself. "Julian," she whispered, "I can't stay with you long. Just for a night or two." Julian smiled gently. "You're staying as long as you want. My home is your home." Tears filled Mara's eyes. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already have," he said. "Every time you comforted me as a child, every story you read to me, every scraped knee you patched up, I'm just paying back what I owe." She placed a weak hand over his. "You don't owe me anything." "I disagree." Julian's penthouse was more like a tranquil sanctuary than an apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows displayed the skyline. A live-in chef greeted them politely. "Prepare something warm for Mara," Julian instructed. "Soup and chamomile tea." "Right away, sir." He led Mara to a guest suite, larger than her entire former apartment. The bed looked soft enough to swallow her whole. She ran her hand across the blanket, tears forming again. "Julian, this is too much." "No," he said, stepping inside. "What was too much was you sleeping in a frozen car." Mara sat on the edge of the bed. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Of what happens next." Julian knelt in front of her. "What happens next is healing. And rebuilding. And dignity." She swallowed. "I don't know how to receive all this kindness." "Then let me teach you," he whispered. He helped her lie down, adjusting the pillows. "Rest. I'm right here." She drifted off for the first deep sleep she'd had in days. In the following days, Julian transformed her life with the efficiency of a surgeon mending a failing heart. He arranged physical therapy for her aching joints. A nutritionist designed meals to restore her strength. A wardrobe specialist carefully replaced her ruined clothes with soft sweaters, warm coats, and comfortable shoes. Mara protested weakly, but Julian always answered the same. "You cared for me when you had nothing. Let me care for you now that I have everything." Slowly, she began to heal, not just physically but emotionally. She laughed for the first time in months. She moved without fear. But the biggest change came one evening when Julian sat across from her in the living room. "Mara," he said, "I want to discuss something important." She straightened. "What is it?" "I'm opening a new pediatric cardiac center. It will be overwhelming for families, lots of fear, lots of confusion." "Yes," she said softly. "Hospitals can be frightening." "I need someone to run the family support program," Julian said. "Someone who can comfort parents. Someone who children trust instantly." Mara froze. "Julian, I'm not qualified." He shook his head. "You have a doctorate in compassion. That's enough." Mara stared at him. "You're offering me a job?" "A leadership position," he clarified. "Full salary, full benefits. And you continue living here." She pressed a hand to her chest. "Julian, I'm 70. And the most emotionally intelligent person I know. But I don't have degrees." "I have the degrees," he said quietly. "You have the heart. Hospitals need both." Tears blurred her vision. "What would I even do?" "Exactly what you did for me," he said. "You'd guide scared parents. You'd comfort anxious children. You'd be the warmth in a cold place." Mara let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "No one has ever spoken about me like that." Julian smiled gently. "Then it's about time someone did." She looked at her hands, scarred, tired, wrinkled. Hands that had worked relentlessly. Hands that had been dismissed. She whispered, "I accept." Julian's relief was palpable. "Good," he said softly, "because you belong here. And your story isn't over." Within a month, the pediatric wing felt like Mara's home. Parents sought her out for reassurance. Children clung to her during difficult procedures. Doctors admired the calm she brought into the room. Nurses called her the heartbeat of the center. Mara found purpose again, a purpose that made every painful memory feel smaller. One afternoon, a young mother sobbed in Mara's arms. "They say my son needs surgery. I'm so scared." Mara stroked her back. "Fear means you love him, and he's in good hands." She then guided her gently to Julian's office. "Dr. Winfield will explain everything. He's brilliant, and he cares." The mother nodded gratefully. After she left, Julian approached Mara. "You're magic," he whispered. She smiled. "I'm just doing what someone once needed to do for me." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Mara, you're changing lives." She laughed quietly. "Including my own?" Spring arrived in New York with blooming dogwoods and warmer breezes. The hospital prepared for its annual charity gala, a glamorous event attended by CEOs, celebrities, and donors. Julian insisted Mara attend as his honored guest. "Julian, I don't belong at a gala," she argued. "People there wear dresses worth more than my car." "You belong more than any of them," he replied simply. He asked a designer friend to craft a gown for her, a deep emerald silk that made her eyes glow. When Mara saw herself in the mirror, she didn't recognize the woman staring back. "I look beautiful," she whispered. "You always did," Julian said. At the gala, people whispered, curious about the elegant older woman at Julian's side. He introduced her proudly. "This is Mara Lennox, Director of Family Support." For the first time in her life, Mara felt seen, not as a helper, but as a human being with value. Halfway through the evening, Julian took the stage for his speech. He spoke about medical advances, the new cardiac center, and the children whose lives they were saving. Then his tone softened. "There is one person," he said, "who shaped not only my childhood but also my character as a man." Mara's breath caught. "Someone who taught me compassion long before I ever learned medicine." He gestured toward her table. When she lost her home earlier this year, she was rejected by the people who should have protected her. She was called a burden. A ripple of shock moved across the audience. Mara froze. Julian continued, "But she is not a burden. She is strength. She is love. She is family." He extended a hand. "Please stand, Mara." The crowd rose instantly, applauding her with thunderous warmth. Mara stood slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. For the first time in 70 years, she felt truly honored. Word of the gala spread quickly. Within days, the story reached social media. Neighbors who had witnessed Julian confronting Caleb had posted their accounts anonymously. Soon, the narrative flipped entirely. Caleb and Tessa were criticized nationwide. Ungrateful. Cruel. How could anyone treat their mother like that? Their friends distanced themselves. Caleb's job performance plummeted. Tessa's influencer brand suffered harsh backlash. One evening, Mara's phone rang. It was Caleb, sobbing. "Mom, people are saying terrible things. Julian humiliated us." Mara spoke calmly. "Julian didn't humiliate you. He told the truth." "We're drowning," Caleb cried. "Can you send money?" Mara closed her eyes. "No, Caleb. I won't rescue you from consequences." "Why are you being so cold?" "I'm not cold," she said softly. "I'm finally warm." He hung up in anger. A week later, Caleb called again, this time quieter, humbled. "Mom, I think I need help. Real help. I've been angry for so long, and I don't know why." Mara inhaled deeply. "If you want therapy," she said gently, "I will help you pay for that. But not anything else." Caleb sniffed. I want to try." "Then I'll support that," she said. She didn't forgive him instantly. Healing takes time. But she allowed the door to open just a crack. And slowly, Caleb began therapy. Slowly, Mara let herself hope, not for reconciliation, but for responsibility. Months passed. Mara thrived in her new role. Julian flourished too, often stopping by her office to check on her. "How's my favorite person today?" He'd joke. "You mean your boss," she teased back. Their bond deepened, not as nanny and child, not as employer and employee, but as two souls intertwined by fate and choice. One afternoon, Julian entered her office with a folder. "I have something to discuss." She looked up.